Hello YouTube, my name is Jared, the professional here, and today we are going to talk about how Bloodborne is extremely overrated, and I very much stand by this statement, and I think by the end of this video, you'll agree with me, because going back and replaying this game on the Shad PS4 emulator has opened my eyes a good bit, that the default roster of bosses that you have to beat is some of the most boring FromSoft bosses I've ever played against, and I truly mean this. And I believe that if you also listen to what I have to say and really pick apart these bosses, you'll understand too. So let's get into it. So even though this is not a mandatory boss, the first boss that almost everybody encounters is the Cleric Beast, right? It's a good introductory boss. But beyond that, there's really not much going on here. He's got the grab, but most of it just turns into standing next to his feet, hoping that the camera doesn't just get destroyed halfway through. And now I know you can make the argument that's basically preparing you for the following fights, right? To make sure you have enough blood vials, understand the combat system, realize what the rally mechanic is, how it works, that you can parry things, or just in general, more experience with the game. It's like, okay, I can understand that statement, but the idea that this boss is like an absolute banger that you're super excited to see is just not true at all. There's nothing here for that. It's just nonsense. I also think it takes way too long. All the gameplay in this video is going to be a New Game Plus, so these bosses have an extremely higher amount of health, which I think overall makes them a little bit more challenging and interesting to play. But overall, Cleric Beast is a pretty big miss, at least on the replay. I was really looking forward to this because I remember when I first played it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's such a crazy fight. It's just nostalgia. It takes forever. Okay. Next fight. Father Gascoigne. I love this fight. I really do. I think it's super fun. I think the first time you fight him, though, you just absolutely destroy him. There's no challenge here at all. I remember I've beaten him before he gets to second phase. I can't even tell you how many times. It's ridiculous. I enjoy the fight, and I think normally the human fights, or I should say, maybe not human, but when it's more centered around the player character fighting another player character, the game really shines. I don't think the PvP for this game is worth noting, but Father Gascoigne's a great fight. I really like it. The second phase, I feel like people don't really have that great of a grasp on because you never interact with it very much in the first phase. I think parrying in this game is a little broken, but this fight is fun. It's good. It's a little easier than I remember, and I think New Game Plus allows it to be a lot more entertaining, right? I also think that the music for second phase and the shift really elevates this, but this one is good. So the first mandatory boss is awesome, right? Now, there's really not much to say about that. There is also the music box, so for gameplay reasons, it's also a little easier, and it's not as much as like a gatekeeping standpoint, which is awesome. And then the third mandatory boss, Vicar Amelia. This fight's boring. It's unbelievably boring. This is not entertaining. It is just like a wet mop that's covered in blood running around that sometimes heals randomly, and you might be able to DPS through it, who knows. It's okay, I guess, for, maybe the first time seeing it, but outside of that, this fight is extremely boring. I mean, there's not much here. Like, you get an RNG healing mechanic, and, like, really big swipes that will probably miss if you just stand near their butt, which is kind of a theme in this game with the bigger enemies, and I think it gets better in the DLC. But in general, if you have any kind of enemy and you just stand behind them, it seems to just bug out their AI, and they just cannot really effectively get you. After that, right, you do that, and then you go to the Forbidden Woods, and then you get to the Shadow of Yharnam. Cool. this is just a gang fight with 3 of them, which are the exact same. The first time I played this, it was extremely boring. I think Liza P did this a little bit better, or at least made it challenging. I don't think I've ever died on these guys, and parrying them just makes this fight extremely trivial. Now, in New Game Plus, I did actually have to think about my positioning and change up where I was, and at least add a little bit more, I guess, like, conscious thought into this fight. Otherwise, it's just trivial and very boring, and it's definitely not a highlight. You know, when you think of Bloodborne and how much people really love this game, people talk about, oh, this is my favorite game, this is the best FromSoft game, it can't be beaten, you have to play it, you should go buy a PlayStation 4 or a PlayStation 5 to play this game. This is not that good. The gameplay here is not amazing. Now, don't get me wrong, the game looks good. It's fun to look at, like, it feels cool, but the nitty-gritty of the game design and trying to look for the attacks, it's just not good. This is not a Consort Raton or a Mania or I'd even say like Manus level. It's not here. It's not. So this is 2 fights for me where I'm just kind of like, all right, this is already downhill. But like obviously there's more than just these fights, so we'll keep going. Next, Rom the Vacuous Spider. I know not a soul on this earth that has ever been happy to fight this guy and was like, this is my favorite boss. This dude is the coolest. I love it. This fight is horrific. If you hit his head, you do less damage, right? So you have to hit his side. Alright, whatever. There's a certain amount of like skill check there. He's got like 3 attacks and just covered in spiders. That's it. That's like the whole fight. He can thrust up, or he can make rocks go up in the air. He can do, like, I don't even know what you call that. Almost like a little, like, fat explosion that just sends people flying. I died to this boss like 3 times. It was unbelievably boring and annoying. Like, this is not the hype that Bloodborne is, right? This is just not here. So this is a huge miss. And these bosses are back-to-back, by the way, which is an atrocity. I can't believe it. But after that one, the next boss that we have to do is the one Reborn. I kind of forgot this fight was even a thing. The cutscene's pretty cool, I guess. It kind of has, like, the whole gross gothic vibe, but it's not very memorable, and I know that some people really struggled with this one and had to go like up top and come up with new strategies and stuff. I've never had that. You can honestly just run underneath and just beat the crap out of them and heal accordingly, and that's it. I have no idea where the difficulty is in this. It's not a good fight. Like, you don't even lock your camera most of it. It's very forgettable. Now, there is a fight around here that I think is infinitely better. I don't remember the name, but it's the electricity boss, where once you get captured by the guys with the bags, I think that fight's really fun compared to this one. This one's just not entertaining. It's not here. You kind of just run at him, and if it doesn't work, guess what? You do it again, and that time it will work. It's very boring. Not just another bad fight, right? So we just had Shadow of Yharnam, Rom the Vacuous Spider, and one Reborn. All these fights are awful, right? And fight before that, Father Gascoigne, awesome. Okay, one before that, not really, but it's an intro boss, so you can forget about it. So we basically have 3 very mediocre, not fun or interesting bosses in a row, right? Then, as the worst punishment Miyazaki could have ever created, you play against Micolash. This boss is horrible for so many reasons, and obviously it was a much more of an experimental design that they did, but it's just awful. I was trying to get footage for this, and I played it legit, and since I was on New Game Plus, I got one shot in second phase after trying to find this guy. And this is ignoring the fact that, let's say you put a blood gem that makes you do lightning damage, right? He has extremely high defense stats for that. So you'll do like about a quarter of the damage you normally would. But his first moveset is extremely easy. It's just a matter of getting him in to the locations. That's not very fun. The first time you do it, it can be somewhat interesting to try and figure out what the puzzle is, right? But his attacks are kind of lame. Anything remotely interesting about his dialogue is no longer interesting after you hear it for like 30 plus times. So it takes you this entire, like 5 minutes. I have it on screen, but we'll see how long I actually put in the video. How much I want to punish the people that are watching this. So then you get to second phase, and then he just automatically one-shots you. The worst part is that since I am playing on the Shad PS4 emulator, it does not render his attack very well. So you can't actually see the thing you need to dodge. So what you wind up doing to even save your sanity is to just cheese the boss from like a variety of different angles. But like this boss is notoriously bad. I don't need to spend much more time on it. If you've never played against this boss, it's awful. It's not fun. It's okay to cheese it. It's not like you're a bad player. If anything, I'd say you're more skillful for cheesing it because it's just easy. Like I can't even put into words how much this boss is just despicable. And no one likes him either. So this is like 4 bosses in a row, right? Of a game that's supposedly so good that you just absolutely have to play it. That sucks, okay? This is ridiculous. I'm expecting one of the greatest games of all time, and I'm getting one of the most boring FromSoft piles of dog water I've ever seen. I can't do it. Alright, now after this, right? Mergo's Wet Nurse. Now, I remember this fight, but I didn't remember it being particularly interesting in any way. I remember the design was really cool and almost like dreamlike horror type thing. Her moveset's pretty lame. She has this one where she just cuts a bunch in front of her and just kind of runs at you. You can't parry it, from what I understand. I think if you get directly behind her, you can hit her. But if she just does this move, you kind of just wait till she's done to go in and then dodge a different move. And that's the whole fight. There's not much here. I do like the design, though. I think the design is very fun. I think the arena's cool. The environment really suits her. And towards the end, right, the purple mist comes in and she has a clone. I really like that, but it's kind of too little too late.
I would have really liked to see them use this mechanic a bit more favorably for her, because it kind of just feels like a pointless jump scare that takes my time, and I can't really see what she's doing. I know she's doing something, but it also goes away after a while, so while there is like a fun horror aspect to it, gameplay-wise, it just feels like a gimmick, and there's just been so many gimmicks so far that you just get sick of it. It's kind of just wears you down. So this boss it's okay. Not really. It's like a little worse than okay, but like right there, I'm still getting hit even though I'm behind her. And so it's like, yeah, just keep wailing on her. She'll go down eventually. You're not really at risk of dying, so. And then New Game Plus also just amps up her health to where this is a more painful experience, but eventually you get it down. But alright, so far, Father Gascoigne, it's really, that fight's only good on your second playthrough, but the first one you kill him so fast it doesn't matter. Still a cool fight. Vicar Amelia, not really that fun. Shadow of Yharnam, not fun. Rom the Vacuous Spider, not fun. One Reborn, not fun. Micolash, extremely not fun. Mergo's Wet Nurse, not really. It's kinda but okay, whatever. So, on to the final boss, which is Gehrman, the First Hunter. Okay. This fight is amazing. I love this fight. If every fight in the game was up to this quality, I think this game is the greatest game of all time. But it's not. It's honestly a shame, too, because almost all of the Hunter fights are just top
tier. The Lady Maria fight in the DLC, amazing. The Gascoigne fight, amazing. This fight, amazing. They kill this and only do it twice in the base game. Now, I know that the DLC really makes up for that and adds a bunch of better fights, but I'm just focusing on the base game right now. The cutscene's great. His weapon's cool, the dialogue's cool, the environment's super cool, the Hunter's Dream makes for an amazing boss fight. Now, the fight after this, the secret boss fight, right, is the Moon Presence. Moon Presence is a very fun fight. I did like it. I don't think it really changes that much. I do enjoy it, though, that there is an optional secret boss at the end. I really like that. I think the steps to do the quest, though, to get the 3 umbilical cords is definitely too complicated, and you just have to use a guide, which, for FromSoft, that's pretty standard. But it's as a replay through, it is just kind of a pain to actually get a semi-decent fight. I have to go through all these steps when throughout the course of the game I've only had like one fight I really enjoyed. Parrying kind of makes this too easy with most of the hunter fights, but it is still very enjoyable. It's a great fight. There's not much else to say about this. It's just solid from all aspects. Even in New Game Plus with the health advantage and everything, by the time in the original, your first playthrough, you should be just about strong enough where this fight's still challenging, but it's definitely not too hard in terms of Orphan of Kos, Melania, Radon from Elden Ring, right? It's not at that level. It is just a fun fight. And that's going to lead me into my next point. I think what makes this game really good, and why even though I just spent all this time talking about how I don't think the boss design is good, and I still believe it's not, and I think if you see what I'm saying, you can kind of see where I'm coming from when you compare it to the other games like Elden Ring, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3. We don't care about Dark Souls 2. Or Sekiro. Those bosses are extremely memorable. And there's just, it's banger after banger, right? Just, I know bangers. It's just not good. It's not. And I love this game, and I do. It has a special place in my heart, but there's a conversation to be had here that these bosses are overrated. Now, everything else about this game is phenomenal. I love the environment, this gothic horror, dreamscape. The graphics are awesome. The only problem is the 30 FPS. Shadow PS4 fixes that, but still, that is an issue that people should really think about when they're like, oh, it was Game of the Year and it ran at 30 FPS and had frame issues. It's kind of a big minus in my book. That's tough. That's something you can't get over. The sound design for the weapons, phenomenal. Can't get enough. The music, some of the best we've ever heard in this Victorian Gothic era, especially for video games. But all that kind of contributes to the feeling of this game, and the feeling is phenomenal. And that, I think, is more important. And also, the other thing that's very fun is the Switch weapon system. The Switch weapon system makes replaying this game so much more worth it because there actually is more build variety than just let's spam R1 in a different way, which is really important because I get in some of the Dark Souls just hitting R1 with a different button kind of doesn't do it, but at least now you got two, so you have a different strategy you can use. The fast step as compared to the roll, awesome. I love killing faster. I can't complain about that. Great mechanic. Rally system, I think that's really overdone, but it is still very cool that you can get your health back, right? But I would love to hear what y'all's opinion is on this and see if maybe I'm off base, maybe I'm not. The DLC definitely makes this game a lot better than it is, and I think a lot of my concerns about the boss design go away when we're looking at the DLC. But if we're just talking about the base game, right? You can't just say a game is only good because it has DLC, or else the game's not good, in my opinion. If you disagree with me, please let me know down below. I did this in one take because I have no idea what I'm doing, But I would love to talk with y'all about this because I love this game. Alright, peace.